Welcome to Module 1, Lesson 1, all about regulation. So, regulation today, we are going to talk about yourself. So, I only want you for this first lesson to think about yourself. Forget about your child's regulation techniques. We're going to talk about that in Lesson 2. Right now, we're focusing on you. So, what are you like at baseline? So when I say baseline, I mean when you are calm and you're not too cold, you're not too hot, you're not hungry, you're not sleepy. At baseline, what helps keep you calm? So for me, I know I don't want a lot of loud music on, but when I'm at baseline, I might have light music in the background and that wouldn't bother me. Some people want it completely quiet or they like a busy environment. So for you, I really want you to think about yourself, and we're going to break this up into 3 different categories: your demeanor, your energy, and your triggers. What do I mean by those? Let me tell you. So, think about your demeanor. And once again, there is no judgment when I am giving this presentation. So, are you someone who is anxious by nature? I am a very anxious person. People who know me can verify that. But I also can be very calm in intense situations. So think about who you are. Are you a positive person or a more glasses half empty type person? Are you more passive? Are you more aggressive? Are you passive aggressive now? These are important to know because if you are by nature a more negative person, then you may need to do some extra work to finding the positives in your daily routines with your child. Think about at work. What are you like? Are you different at work than at home? Because this isn't meant to shame or think anybody is a bad person, but it really, if you look at yourself and you understand yourself, then you will be better able to help your child. For example, like I said earlier, I like it quiet or kind of quiet music if I'm in a calm state. If my child comes in screaming or blasts the music or their iPad and I have to hear Mr. Beast talking more, that might set me off, which is going to lead to a trigger later down the road. But if I know that I like it quiet, I can talk to my son and tell him, hey, those loud noises really get to me. So let's work on something that we can do to help that. If you have a significant other who has more of an aggressive personality, and maybe you're more passive, what is it going to look like when you come to the table and have a disagreement about your child? You know what's going to happen. But if you're both aware that, hey, he might come off a little aggressive, he's not trying to be mean, that's just in his demeanor. And I might come off like I don't care, but I do. I'm just a very passive person. Knowing yourself can really help change how you interact with other people. So, next is your energy. I'm not going to get too woo woo or hippy dippy on you, but I do think energy is so important. I have this quote on my car, and it says, your energy introduces you before you speak. I can attest to that because if I walk into a classroom, I immediately can feel if it's chaos. Even before I see things throwing or hear children yelling, I pick up on that energy that every teacher in that room is super stressed without anyone having to say anything to me. So your energy matters because we all can't be at baseline all day. We can't be calm and walk around like everything is wonderful in the world because things aren't always wonderful. And we need to learn how to control our energy to best help our child. Does that mean that you can't flip your lid sometimes and go off the deep end? No, you're not perfect. That's going to happen. But if you're aware of what you're bringing to the table, you might be able to change situations. For example, I have a coworker or had a coworker long time ago, short time ago. I don't want to give away any names, but they were kind of a crabby person. And a lot of times the kids did not want to work with this person. And I could tell it was because the energy that this person brought when working was really negative. They didn't want to be there, or they didn't like their job. The kid might have been internalizing it that they don't like me when really something might have been going on that morning and put that person in a bad mood. Maybe they got a flat tire on their way to their work and their energy was different. You don't always have to speak. There is something about how we vibrate and what's going on that people can tell things about you. So, why do I say this? Because you can't control it all the time. But if I know I got a flat tire on my way to work, or I'm really tired, my daughter was up all night, I am not in like a perfect place today, I still have to show up and do my job. But I need to find a way before I walk into that classroom to get myself regulated and at baseline and get my energy a little more positive, or I'm going to have really difficult sessions that day. And it might work out that I walk in and I work with my first student and it's wonderful. And that might be able to shift my energy. So maybe that day I'll start with something that I know will bring me up. So knowing where you're at is really important when you move forward. Like I said, things can't always be perfect. But if you're aware of it, sometimes at the end of the night, I might snap at one of my kids and then say, I'm really sorry. I'm really tired. And it's not about you. It was me. That might shift the whole dynamic. Now, your child might not be able to understand all of this. And I understand that. But you do now. And so you can start making changes and understanding your energy and how it may or may not impact situations. Other big area I want you to think about, and I kind of alluded to it before, is your triggers. So is this loud noises, like I said? Is it swearing? We have a couple students who swear and it really sets off some teachers. They don't think that's appropriate. They don't know why they're doing it. And they're doing it because they're getting a reaction. So if you know your triggers, you can be aware of them and try to stop having a reaction. Is it when your kids ignore you? Is it certain music or TV shows, maybe people or events? I had a mom a long time ago who her son would script from the Wiggles, and it drove her crazy. So she got to a point where when they would have dinner, because a big thing in their family was they wanted to sit at the table and eat dinner. When they ate at the table, she would say, turn off the Wiggles. And her son learned not because he couldn't stop himself, but because he learned it was important to his mom and it changed how she reacted, that if he could either script it in a whisper so she couldn't hear it, or he stopped. He found a way to stop because it was a trigger for her and she couldn't help it. She could just not listen to it. He would go up to his room right after dinner and be able to sing and dance and do all the things the Wiggles do. But at dinner, it was really important to her. And she knew she could not get through that dinner that was so important to them without helping shape her son's behavior. So think about it. If there are things that really drive you crazy, how can you put in a plan? And it might take a while to get that plan working, but how can you put in a plan so you won't be so triggered? So, having said all of that, let's talk about some of your strengths and some of your challenges. So, what are your strengths as a parent and as a person? Are you a patient person? Are you a kind person? Are you a very motivated person? Are you a hard worker? What are the things that you really love about yourself that you think are a strength to your parenting? Then, what are some challenges? We all have them. No one is perfect. So, what are some things or some times maybe that you struggle with? Is it going out to public events where you feel like people are judging you and you get really anxious and then you're short with your kids and it ends up being a disaster? Is that a challenge for you? It's important to know these things, not to make you feel bad, but so you know where there are ways maybe you need to ask for help. maybe you need to talk with a therapist, like a speech therapist, about ways to help you in these situations. Because they're going to happen. Challenges are going to happen. They're not going anywhere. But if you know your challenges, you can look to your strengths to be like, hey, maybe in this situation, I can focus on this strength that I have to get me through these challenges. And think about your partner if you have a significant other or there are siblings in the house. What are the strengths and challenges with them personally? And then also with your family in general. A challenge for my family is my kids fight, but I think that's a challenge for every family. But if I know that that's going to be a challenge, I can be proactive and try to use my strength of being patient to help get through some difficult times. So I gave you a lot to think about. You might want to go back and rewatch some of these things. I am not here to judge or to criticize in any way, but if you know yourself as a parent and as a person, you can better help your child. That being said, you can't do it all alone. So, friend and family involvement. You need to try to build a community. I know that for some of you, that seems absolutely impossible. But one good thing that did come out of the pandemic is that we can now be connected in ways like this. I didn't even know this online learning was possible necessarily before the pandemic. So there are ways, there are so many support groups, there are so many people in your life that love you that maybe it might just take some educating them. Educate them on your situation, on your challenges, on ways that they can help you. A lot of time people want to help. We do. That's just in our nature as humans. We want to help each other. But you might need to educate and be patient with people first. For example, my stepfather and I have extremely different parenting styles, and he gets really frustrated at me sometimes. And we've had conversations where we definitely don't see eye to eye on things that I do, things my children do, situations in our life, whatever that may be. But we can both also be patient with each other and understand that even if we don't agree, we love my children very much. And we're going to do what we can and work together as best we can to support them because that's okay. His ideas are not wrong. My ideas are not wrong. They're just different. And that's okay. But I have to ask for help. I have to build a community because parenting is so hard and you can't do it alone. You can, believe me, I've tried, but it's much easier on your own mental health and well-being and much easier on your children if you can get family and friends. And I know for some of you that seems really hard because you may be really introverted and not want to put yourself out there. But like I said, now with the internet and all these communities, you don't necessarily have to put your face out there to get support, which is why hopefully if you join the Facebook group that I mentioned in the beginning, I want to build a community where we can all help each other. Once again, our situations might be very, very different, but everybody can bring something to the table to help educate or give a different idea, give a different outlook on thing, a perspective. And if everybody is open and caring and respectful, then you can build a community that can really help you and your family. So now that we've talked a lot about you, move on to the next lesson where we're going to talk more about your child.